All right. Looks like the clock struck 2, so we're going to go ahead and start. I know that people will continue to filter in, but actually, before we begin, I want to ask if somebody can give me a thumbs up if they can see a slide as a CSUF Budget 101. Is that what's currently on the screen? Perfect. Thank you so much. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so to begin, my name is Oliver Vela, and I'll be conducting this training on behalf of our the budget office. This is a training on Budget 101, budget concepts, and is similar to the training that I think I can see that many of you attended earlier in the morning. There'll be some overlap, but I'm going to try to focus more on uh, uh, conceptual stuff, history, the relationship between the CSU system and the state of California as far as the state of California's budget process, and some fund governance stuff, which I didn't really touch on in the training from this morning, but you'll see for those of you who were here this morning, some very similar presentations. So to begin, I'm going to start with kind of an overview of the California state budget and where California State University fits within that budget. I'll show some displays on historical funding trends as it relates to the California State University. I'll talk a little bit about the allocation from the chancellor's office down to Cal State Fullerton, and dive in a little bit more into Cal State Fullerton's budget sources and uses for the current fiscal year. Or for those of you who are here this morning, I'll touch on, though not in as great detail, budget processes local to Cal State Fullerton, and we'll talk a little bit about the fund the fund reporting structure that's used for the CSU system and how it kind of fits with our local set of fund values. And also take the opportunity to highlight some budget management tools, which again would be very similar to some of the stuff that we had covered earlier this morning for those of you who were here this morning. I'm going to try to set aside some time at the end of this to answer any questions, but just like in the morning, please feel free to present any questions that come up during the conversation, either in chat or just raise your hand, and happy to address any questions at the time as they occur to you. So starting with the state of California. Okay. Let me see if I can fix this 1 second. Okay, well, let me try again. Share. So I'm not sure why it's not showing in that view, but let me kind of bolster on with this view instead. So the State General Fund, as you can see, is composed of a number of different sources, but what I want to highlight is the uh, that's supposed to be corporate tax. Okay. What I want to highlight is the proportion of the state's general fund revenue that's composed of kind of the big three components: corporation tax, sales and use tax, and personal income tax. The larger share, as you can see, is personal income tax, and that kind of goes into a story that some of you may be familiar with, the volatility in the state's revenue picture and how that affects agencies like ourselves who are funded by the State General Fund. So this is a display from the Legislative Analyst Office. What it is it's a comparison of the administration's budget plan against the legislative analysts' scoring of the variability in that budget plan. The green line represents the target as set by the administration's budget plan. And the sort of green area represents the, in LAO's estimate, the amount of variability related to the budget plan. So as you can see, within the current fiscal year, this is where the green area is where the green line is where the administration is targeting as far as the budget plan. But LAO's estimate shows a swing of up to positive 10, 15 billion to negative 40 billion. Moving on to the next slide, you can see that the big three components of state tax revenue comprise personal income tax, corporate tax, and sales tax. The area that LEO shows to have the most level of revenue volatility is in personal income tax, and that has to do with how much of the state's taxation system is dependent on personal income tax and specifically capital gains. Depending on the performance of the stock market, that can significantly affect revenue collections by the state of California. Moving on. So this slide is a display of the state general fund expenditure budget. As you can see, the largest portions of the state's budget are in health and human services, K through 12 education, followed by ourselves at this green slice, higher education. Of that green slice, California State University is roughly 21.9% of the higher education budget, very similar to that of the University of California. So as we enter into the current fiscal year, actually, let me see. I think this is probably the area when the slides start to work again. So as we enter into the current fiscal year, I want to kind of note this display from the governor's budget. As you can see on the leftmost column is the expenditure budget by agency as of 2023-24, compared against the current year budget for the state for various state agencies. Many of the state agencies saw reductions in the current fiscal year, with the exception of higher education, which for this current fiscal year didn't see cuts, but as many of you know, the current proposal from the governor announced in January it includes a 7.95% cut to the CSU and deferment of compact funding of the multi-year compact funding that the CSU had and the governor's administration had negotiated for to continue through the next 4 or 5 years. So this display is really just to show this process that I like to think of as the board of trustees and the governor taking a piece of paper, sliding it across the table, the blue bars represent the Board of Trustees' request in the fall for budget augmentation. The orange part is where the governor responds in January with the initial proposal for a budget, and the light green bar is represent what the CSU ultimately received as a budget for that fiscal year. As you can see, typically the CSU normally doesn't get what it requests for in the fall. In the case of some years, there was in fact a budget reduction instead of budget augmentation. For the coming fiscal year 2025-26, where the governor has indicated that we should plan, the California State University should plan for 7.95% or $375 million base reduction. So this display is kind of a historical view of CSU's funding, and it indeed kind of tracks with the level of state support and higher education in California in general, beginning with the enaction of the master plan, the idea that a higher education should be available at low or no cost to most California residents, should they choose to seek continuing education. The proportion of that the state contributes towards higher education is nearly all of the costs related to higher education. And then as the state's funding situation changes and the state has had to retract from kind of that initial the initial dream of the master plan, you can see the portion that is supported by the state decrease, the portion that is borne by our students in terms of additional student fees increases to compensate until the two meet. And then there's an attempt within the most recent years as part of the multi-year compact to for the state to increase its support of higher education and relieve students from additional fees to pursue higher education. And this is simply just another display of that's similar to display shown here. The change adjusted by inflation of how much is the state's responsibility as represented by the green portion of the bar versus the student's responsibility as represented by the blue portion of the bar, and the sort of relative amount per FTES as it changes from year to year, adjusted by inflation. As you can see, starting in 2000, 2001, more of the bar is green, and then as we continue, that sort of changes, and more and more of it is responsibility or borne by student fees. So this display is a comparison of enrollment at CSUF as compared to the allocation of general fund. So the blue line here in the middle is the target, the resident enrollment target assigned to Cal State Fullerton, and the orange line here represents CSUF total actual enrollment. So we have historically shown robust subscription and are consistently enrolled over target. And really, the purple part, the the allocation of general fund to Cal State Fullerton is meant to kind of show the relationship between general fund and CSUF enrollment targets. Ideally, these three lines should be traveling in the same direction. Right? As if we're teaching more students, one would hope that we would get a proportional increase in state general fund support, and that is generally true, with some exceptions. This sort of indicates here there was no change in enrollment targets, but there was a decrease in general fund allocation. So in this section, we're kind of talking about how the budget starts from the state level, is filtered down through the system, and then ultimately to Cal State Fullerton. In really July, and really even earlier, the CSU begins formulating its budget ask, its budget request, and in September, the CSU submits a budget request as part of its budget cycle. One thing to note is that over the past few years, this has represent an acceleration of the CSUF's of the CSU's budget schedule. It used to be that the trustees would submit their budget ask or their budget request in November. There was a strategic decision to accelerate that and to submit the budget request early in the year to allow folks the opportunity to advocate and make the case for the value that the CSU provides to the states and to its citizenry. So after the administration has received all of its budget requests from its various agencies, and in January, the governor submits their initial budget proposal, and in the spring, a series of legislative hearings are scheduled in order to review the governor's budget proposal, for the legislature to submit revisions and its own budget plan. And it may, after getting input from the legislature, and most importantly, after getting information about actual tax receipts, the governor produces a what's called the May Revise, or a May Revised Budget Plan. Between May and June, there are additional negotiations, and it's and by June, the state is required to enact a balanced budget, and failing to meet that June deadline, has some direct financial consequences to various members of the legislature. I don't recall exactly the legislation that enacted that, but it was within the past 10 or 15 years, I believe. The red portion of this timeline is a representation of campus kind of planning window or planning horizon. And that really is just to say that there's a logistical hurdle, in that there's like a misalignment between campuses planning horizon and the CSU and the state's planning horizon. As you can see, the planning for the new academic year begins, sort of as early as October, November, but we won't actually have a final adopted budget until June. So that level of uncertainty makes planning on the campus level considerably difficult. So as the system considers allocating budget to campuses like Cal State Fullerton, these are some of the considerations. The system will allocate any base or recurring changes to base or recurring budget, any one-time changes that affect the current fiscal year. The system will make allocations for regular campus operations as well as for any capital plans for the any deferred maintenance or for the creation of new academic facilities or repair and refurbishment of critical campus infrastructure. The system would also allocate to universities any mandatory cost increases, like increases related to employer paid benefits like health and dental and retirement, any cost increases as it relates to new academic facilities coming online, new space, and any increases to risk premiums. The system will also allocate to the university a share of enrollment growth. One of the sort of interesting developments within the past 2 years is the idea of reallocation. I don't know, in the most recent years, the system has shifted its thinking about how to allocate additional enrollment, recognizing that certain campuses like ourselves are well subscribed and are well positioned to support enrollment growth, and other campuses, historically have not made enrollment targets, but are still receiving the benefit of budget allocation for that enrollment target, starting within the past year, past 2 years. Campuses have been advised that to the extent that they're not able to meet enrollment targets, then that enrollment is reallocated to those campuses who are able to meet and exceed their enrollment targets. Essentially, enrollment growth at campuses like ourselves, like at Cal State Fullerton, is helping the system overall meet its target to increase resident FTES enrollment target by 1%. And so, in recognition of that fact, some of those resources are being redirected away from campuses that are struggling to meet target to campuses where we have that capacity. Additional sort of campus allocations include state university grant. I think the state university grant program allows for the setting aside roughly a third of tuition fee revenue to support students with need for additional university grants to offset tuition. And in addition, campuses have also received allocations for graduation initiative, which is an initiative by the system to improve or accelerate students' progress to degree. One of the interesting things about this program is that in order for uh, students to graduate faster, they have to take classes. They take more classes. They're consuming services, but they're not necessarily the 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 fee model means that the um, uh, while they're conserving services or consuming services, they're not necessarily um, uh, they're not necessarily being charged as much as in terms of student fees. So there's kind of like if we were thinking about the from a purely kind of fee maximizing or profit maximizing perspective, ideally, uh, you know, the the system would seek out students attending part-time and consuming fewer services, but paying a greater percentage of fees. But that runs counter to our policy of trying to help students graduate as quickly as they can. So in recognition of that, the system allocates additional resources to kind of offset the loss of additional costs related to pursuing the graduation initiative. In addition, campuses are provided budget for negotiated compensation increases and for any specific earmarks that are included as part of the state budget. So this is just to give folks a kind of a flavor of the system-wide budget memo format. This is format, a memo that is provided to campuses each year and is kind of described this following slide. So the memo is organized from left to right. It starts with the starting general fund base. It then adds any base adjustments or augment, any base adjustments from the previous year, includes any new base for the current fiscal year, the campus's projected tuition revenue, and the campus's projected campus fee-based revenue. And so the total of general fund support and campus tuition comprise the total resources that are available to that campus to conduct operations. So this is for the fiscal year 2024-25, the system's average marginal cost of instruction. So the average cost to teach one full-time equivalent student for the fiscal year 2024-25 is estimated at around $70,546 and is broken up into categories that you see for you, $9,000 of it for direct instruction, $2,000 for related academic support and students, an additional $2,468 for student services, and institutional support or administrative overhead is an additional $2,167, and cost related to the operation and maintenance of the buildings on campus is $1,625. The average amount of general fund support that contributes towards that $17,000 that it costs to teach one full-time equivalent student is about $11,000. And I say about because this doesn't necessarily mean that for every full-time equivalent student, Cal State Fullerton receives exactly $10,000 and $995. The system allocates general fund by um, through a model that funds only marginal costs. And what I mean by that is this: some campuses are able to either uh, uh, because of their size and scale, or because of other factors like their uh, ability to attract over enrollment, may generate more proportionally more tuition fee revenue. So more of that $17,000 that you see here for marginal cost is supported by fee revenue. It doesn't mean that um, difference is is uh, is represents additional resources to the campus. It's balanced out by the adjustment to the allocation of general fund support. So if a campus is getting more in fees, they're getting a little bit less in general fund and vice versa. Those two sources interchangeably are the funding sources that are used to support operations. One of the things that was enacted was a multi-year tuition fee increase, starting with this current fiscal year and continuing through 2028-29. Fees are set to increase 6% each year. At fiscal year 2027-28, the policy requires the Board of Trustees begin reviewing the multi-year tuition fee increase policy and make adjustments as needed, whether to continue the policy or to adjust the policy. So now that was just from the perspective of the system overall. So now we kind of get into for the current fiscal year, sources and uses for Cal State Fullerton's budget. So here we have the budget from two perspectives. On the left side are the sources or the resources used to support the budget. You can see that a little bit more than half of the budget for the current fiscal year is supported by state general fund allocation, 39.3% through tuition and fees, and 8.5% from other fees, from other mandatory fees or fees for service. On the right side, you'll see the expenditure budget. It should be of no surprise to folks that for the university, the majority of costs are related to personnel, and roughly between 70 and 80% of costs for operating the university are in salaries and related employer paid benefits. The remaining are OE&E expenses. And the sort of tables below detail the history over the past past 4 years of both budget sources and budget uses. So this display is the display of budget sources for the current fiscal year. It's a lot of stuff, but again, going kind of back to this display, just keep in mind that the sources of CSUF's budget come from state allocation and from fees collected from students. More sort of I think interesting and more relevant here would be the uses of of the incremental change in CSUF's budget from in fiscal year 2024-25. So what this is telling us is that the budget in the current fiscal year 2024-25, grew by $74.8 million or $84.3 million total from the previous fiscal year. 74.8 million of that increase is related is a baseline increase, meaning it's an increase that is made permanent and absent any other base changes to the budget will be reflected in the budget for 25-26. Of that sort of $84.3 million number, 9.5 or 9.6 million of that budget is attributable to one-time activity, specifically over enrollment. And the other sort of thing that's this display is kind of telling us is that based on the incremental change in resources to the university and incremental additional costs taken on by the university is expected to, on a baseline basis, have like a baseline deficit of $749,000 that is made up in the current year with one-time resources. So that within the current year, there's no net impact, but a question going into the following year for at least a small budget problem coming into the following year. So this is similar to the display that we had gone over earlier. The one that shows the budget calendar or the budget cycle from the system's perspective and the state's perspective. This one is more specific to the process and timeline for Cal State Fullerton. In the beginning of the fiscal year, the budget is set up. Divisions will have already submitted their New Year asks, and those budget requests are consolidated and presented to the president and cabinet for the review. And once that budget is approved, technical letters are sent to divisions to make changes to their budget. During this time, we're also conducting quarterly reviews of the budget. The first quarter review is done by the budget office, but the mid-year and the third quarter review is an opportunity for the budget office to consult with units to get input on, from their perspective, their projected end of year balance. During this time too, in the fall, the Vice President CFO provides a presentation to Academic Senate on the fiscal state of the university, and does the same again in the spring to describe the campus's performance to plan to date. As you can recall kind of from the earlier slide, in January, the governor presents his initial budget proposal. That sort of helps kickstart planning uh, for the new fiscal year. And kind of around this time as well, self-support auxiliary organizations submit their budget plans for their new year for the budget office to review. So these would be, parking, housing, et cetera. This is kind of another display of some of the, to help break up the larger budget processes that are described. So, you can think of budget processes on campus as being, related to the current fiscal year and managing the current enacted enacted financial plan. This would be the green section, the fiscal process. Budget is allocated to divisions, and budget managers regularly review performance to the budget plan. The blue portion is more sort of looking forward to next fiscal year, in which we collect information from divisions on where they identify their needs and what they expect to want to have included in the following year's fiscal plan. As part of ensuring good fiscal health, there is a budget oversight policy. This is a policy enacted by the system, which requires the campuses ensure that there's regular budgetary reviews throughout the fiscal year. There's a comparison of actuals to plan, and units are asked to do a variance analysis. If units can anticipate deficits within the plan, that's an opportunity for managers to strategize about where resources can be redirected in order to address those deficits, or if service levels need to be adjusted in order to ensure that we're still within the plan, and then vice versa. If in this review units identify surpluses, then that's an opportunity for managers to consider whether those surpluses can be directed to other parts of the university, or to take advantage of any one-time opportunities that are presented in the current fiscal year. Again, to reiterate, like the first quarter review is done by the budget office, and the mid-year and the third quarter review is done in concert with divisions and with their input. So as you can recall from previous slides, the majority of university costs are related to positions. So we have a process by which we take salary information, we convert that into financial data that assists with the kind of budget oversight or budget review process, and that process is the labor cost distribution process. What it does is we receive on a monthly basis pay data from the state controller's office. That pay data is assigned chart field values by our system, and that information is posted monthly as part of the month-end process. One of the things that can occur is if there is no if there's position data where there is no assigned set of chart field values, that may cause an error. That's something that we try to resolve. And if as budget managers, you review your position information and find discrepancies in where position costs are being charged against, we encourage you to contact the budget office to fix any discrepancies or any inconsistencies that you guys find. So our financial data is kind of described by these sort of characteristics or these dimensions. We have account values that describe the type of expense something is. So for example, if one were to if one wanted to describe in-state travel, the account code used to describe that is 6001. If you wanted to describe the expense related to regular support staff, sorry, that account would be 601300. And if right, moving on to fund. So fund identifies the kind of funding source that is used to support that activity. In this case, if we're talking about activity supported by the main operating fund, we would use the fund code THEFD. Department is kind of the revenue center or cost center associated with this type of activity. So if we're saying that the in-state travel was incurred by the budget office, we would use department code 10037. Program and class are optional chart field elements that are used by units to track various revenues or expenditures. They're pretty similar in nature, though I think by convention, program is meant to track those revenues and expenditures that are across more than one fiscal year, whereas class is not necessarily the case, whereas more temporary in nature. Project is a chart field used to track those expenses that are related to non-recurring maintenance or capital projects. And scenario is a chart field element that we use to describe budget transactions. It tells us whether a budget transaction is, affects base budget or is a one-time adjustment within the current year only. It'll tell us if this budget transaction is part of the initial base, or if it was budget requests from end users or from units to make an adjustment either on a one-time or a base ongoing basis. Okay, so want to go over a little bit on the different funds that are used by the university. I'm using both our CSU fund and local campus fund. CSU fund is more directly tied to specific references to ed code or to policy, procedure, and is shared by all of the CSUs. If you were to look at the main operating fund or CSU fund 485 for Cal State Fullerton, it would be comparable to the same information that you would find for Cal State Long Beach, for Cal State LA, et cetera, and so forth. within CSU Fund 485, we have different local funds. The most common of which for the main operating fund is THEFD, and is probably the one that you guys see the most. And that represents, the main operation supported by the general fund and by student fee revenues. Moving on then to our enterprise funds. These are funds that are associated with self-supporting parts of the university, like housing. CSU Fund 531. This is the fund that collects housing fees and can only be used for housing operations and for financing capital related to housing. In the same way, the parking fund 471 is meant to, or parking fund 472 is meant to collect all of the information related to financial information related to parking operations. 471 is a very specific fund within kind of parking operations, and is used to record activity related to fines and forfeitures, and can only be by policy exclusively used for the administration of the parking fine program, writing tickets, or for our alternative transportation programs like carpooling or other programs to mitigate the impact of traveling to campus. Continuing education has its own fund as well. Most recently, with the inaction of within the current year of inaction of legislation AB 2395, there is now some additional flexibility in how these revenues can be used to help support main university operations. This is not something that had previously been available, and I think it's something that's still being worked out from a system-wide perspective, but can represent a change in how these resources are thought of and how they're incorporated as part of university operations. Campus Union has its own fund as well, CSU Fund 534, as does ASI. And then some other special funds. The CSU Fund 463, the instructionally related activities. These are fees collected from students to support activities that add to or enrich the instructional program. Lottery is a supplementary allocation from proceeds from the state's lottery program. It is meant, these are small allocations, like roughly for our campus, roughly around between $3 and $4 million each year to a supplement or our own existing operations. One of the things that's important and is part of the sort of regulations around these lottery funds is that they're not meant to replace things that would otherwise be paid for by regular operations. They're meant to be additive, not replacing. So I think that's something that we look look for when we review expenditure transfers into this fund. So really, mainly I wanted to get to this display. Big parts of the university, like main operations, housing, and parking, also have related funds or facilities to track and record information on related non-recurring maintenance and repair and capital improvement. So if it's non-recurring maintenance and repair for an academic building, that's going to be stored within 486, or if it's a capital improvement on a capital building, that's going to be recorded in CSU Fund 487, and is separate from the capital program for housing, separate from the capital program for parking, separate from the capital program from University Union. And this display just kind of really emphasizes that fact. It looks like I'm running out of time here, so I just want to touch on a little real quickly on revenue and expense. Many of you have seen these reports before, but what it is a way to get at the budget balance available. Your resources in the current fiscal year include your baseline budget and any one-time adjustments, which is reflected in your total revised budget. Your total revised budget less actuals, less any encumbrances or any commitments to or obligations, contractual obligations, plus any pre-encumbrances or requisitions that are being processed that will eventually turn into encumbrances. All of these items reduce your balance available against your revised budget. So the report kind of reads from left to right, starting with your resources, your revised budget, less actuals that are recorded and are part of financial history, as well as the impact of any future promises to pay, like encumbrances or pre-encumbrances. That gets you your budget balance available. Oops. This is just to kind of talk a little bit about the budget management dashboard. It's very similar to the revenue expense summary, except that it adds like the additional wrinkle of salary projections to budget balance available, like in this sort of display here. You can think of a fourth item here, projected salary through the end of the year, reducing that balance available to give managers a better ability to predict how they're going to end a year, whether it's going to be a surplus or deficit, because again, the majority of our costs, between 70–80%, is related to positions. Reports are meant. These reports are meant to compare base budget against the recurring base salary costs, but we also have reports that show that have available total revised budget against all employees, including those employees with temporary appointments. For those who need any additional resources, I would highly encourage you to visit our website, the Resource Planning and Budget website. Here you can get information on various trainings that are available, as well as some reports like budget to expenditure summary reports that are available by unit. And really, you can find information here down to the department level if you so choose. Again, I encourage you to look for training that's made available through a financial services website. And kind of with that, are there any questions? Small amount of time that's left over. There's no questions. I encourage you to take the training survey. I'm happy to, you know, I'm happy to get any kind of feedback to make this better, like maybe time this out so I don't talk so fast, but and maybe give some people some opportunities to ask questions. But are there any questions? Nope. Yeah. Thank you. You guys are kind to the point of generosity, I think. But okay, well, if anything comes to mind, again, please visit the budget website, contact us directly, send us an email at budget@fullerton.edu. But thank you so much, and look forward to talking with you soon.